Hey, I'm Adam Jusko from ProudMoney.com, and in this video I am going to review the Milestone Gold Mastercard credit card. But before I do that, I would ask you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not already. If you have already, thank you for doing so. So the Milestone Gold Mastercard is a credit card targeted to bad credit customers. If you have bad credit, and if you have thought about getting a new credit card, or if you've been actively going after a new credit card, you probably know that the types of cards that you qualify for these days are not particularly desirable. The Milestone MasterCard is, a card that pretty much fits that bill. It's not particularly desirable. However, it is an unsecured credit card that can allow you or can give you the opportunity to build your credit back up, and that's sort of why this card exists, to work with bad credit customers. However, what that means is you probably are in the market in general, and with this card, you're going to end up paying, pretty high fees. You're going to have high interest rates. You're going to have small credit lines. So I can't knock this card too hard because it is, serving a portion of the market that, has had trouble in the past with credit. So they're not going to, give you a very long leash. They're going to charge you in order to get credit until you have built up your credit and maybe you qualify for some other credit cards again. So that being said, it is actually a little questionable whether, if your credit, if your credit history is bad enough, whether you should even be going after an unsecured credit card. So if your credit history is really lousy, probably the better option to do would be to go after a secured credit card, because those are actually offered by some of the big credit card companies, and that's a nice way to rebuild your credit. And we'll come back to that, but we're going to talk about the Milestone card first. So the features of the Milestone credit card, like I said, high fees, high interest, small credit lines. No rewards on this card, a 23.9% interest rate. The annual fee can be different depending on how bad your credit is. They say there's the possibility of having a $35 annual fee or a $59 annual fee. My guess would be that for the most people that ever get this card, though, they are on the further down on the credit scale, and they are paying the highest fee, which is $75 in the first year, followed by $99 every year after that. Now, you're only going to start with a $300 credit line with this card. So say you have that $75 annual fee in that first year, that's going to immediately be put onto the card, which means your available credit now is down to $225, and you're going to owe that $75 on your first bill. So you don't have a whole lot of room to work with there when you first get the card. I mean, you don't really have a lot of room to work with even after you pay that $75 off with $300, but that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a pretty small credit line, and you're going to have a piece of it taken up by that annual fee the very first month that you have it. So you should keep that in mind when you get this card. The card is issued by Genesis Card Services and Bank of Missouri. Genesis Card Services is a company that has sort of worked in this bad credit area for a long time. Not necessarily recommending them, but they're at least a company that I'm aware of, having been around for a certain period of time. So they're not, somebody that just kind of showed up out of nowhere. One of their other cards that they offer is the Indigo Mastercard, which is a card that has, pretty similar terms actually to the Milestone credit card. So some of these companies that work in this space, they'll market multiple cards, and, they'll give them different designs, and they'll change, some very small pieces of it, but overall they're almost like the same credit card under a different name. So overall, you're paying a lot, in order to get this credit card. Now, the upside to it is it does report to the major credit bureaus. So if you use it correctly, you can, improve your credit score over time. And it's no worse, I guess, than most of the other cards on this market. I talked about the Indigo MasterCard, which has similar terms. There are other cards on the market as well. So it sort of fits into this area in the market, even though it's not particularly a desirable card to have. And it's better than some of the worst cards on this market, things like the First Premier card, which is a real stinker, the Total Visa, which is right up there with the First Premier. So it's a little better than that. Those are cards you definitely want to stay away from. But this one is still going to give you a pretty small credit line. And obviously there are some fees involved. Now, when you go to apply, or you consider applying, that you should know that there's a sort of pre-qualification or pre-approval thing on their website. You can fill that out, and it'll give you an idea if you're going to be approved. For the most part, you probably are going to be approved unless your credit is really particularly terrible, because the terms on this card are so terrible. But when you do that pre-approval or that pre-qualification, that will be a soft pull on your credit report, which means you're not going to get a ding for sort of doing the pre-approval. If you actually go through and apply for the card, then you will have the hard pull on your credit report, which knocks your credit score down a few points. Not necessarily a big deal as long as you start doing the right things. From that point forward, you'll get those points back if you're making your payments on time and all of that sort of thing. Now, what I said earlier when I talk about credit cards like this, what I always bring up is what I consider the better alternative, which is to go after a secured credit card. Now, unsecured means it works just like any other credit card. You get the card, you use it, and then you have to pay a bill at the end of the month, right? You don't have to put up any collateral or anything. You just get that card and you can use it. Secured credit card is the opposite. You have to put some collateral down. You have to make what is essentially a security deposit in order to get the card. So you say you want the Discover secured card is one of the what we would consider one of the best secured cards out there. Say you get the Discover card, you would have to put maybe $300 down or more, and then you would get a credit line that is equal to what that security deposit is. Now that security deposit just kind of sits off to the side, and you use the card, in a normal way. You pay it off every month with other funds, not with that security deposit you put down, and then you continue to use it like a regular card. And as you do so, you can start to build your credit score and your credit history back up again. When you no longer need the card, you can either cancel it or you may be upgraded and you will get that security deposit back. Now, I mentioned the Discover card because it is a secured credit card that is known to, if you do all the right things, it is known to upgrade you in a somewhat of a short time, in less than a year. Oftentimes, you can be graduated to a different Discover card or keep that same card and get your security deposit back. So oftentimes that is a good way to go about things. Number one, because the fees and interest and that sort of thing aren't as bad as a card like the Milestone card. And number two, you're actually getting yourself in with a major credit card company in that case, who you may want credit from in the future, and whose card is maybe has a little better features overall. So that is our recommended way to go. But if you are going to, if you're pretty set on getting a unsecured credit card, the Milestone credit card isn't great, but it's not particularly worse than a lot of other cards that are serving that market. So that is it. Thanks for watching. Please go to proudmoney.com, where we do other credit card reviews and we have personal finance news and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thanks for watching. Bye.